Hey there, this is Ivan Tapia over here, and welcome to another episode of Mental Interruption, your favorite podcast. This is actually my first podcast ever for Mental Interruption in English. So this is amazing because we got a treat for all of you guys. We got an amazing guest for today's show. And this is Dr. Spiller right here. How you doing, man?
I'm doing so great, Ivan. Thanks for having me here.
It's a pleasure of us having you here. We actually call him Doc Spills, Rafael. And to give you a little bit of background of him, I've known Doc Spills from actually around 5 years ago. And this is an amazing human being, an amazing heart, big heart, always looks how to help and how to become more serviceable to others. And he has amazing success in an industry that I'm very involved in. And right now, he's also a serial entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And we were talking about not serial killer, but what it's also actually he gives a lot of life to a lot of people and a lot of businesses right now. Over 5 businesses right now that he has, 6-figure monthly income earner. And that's just to get it started, because I know he's going to do much better, because his goal is to help a lot of people. He actually started a platform around June of this year. It's a trading platform. And in that platform, he already has over 4,000 people right now. And I know that platform is going to help a lot of people. I just had an opportunity to see more about it actually when he was getting started with that around 18 plus months ago, 2 years ago. And it was just amazing to see the growth. And today, seeing the platform, he was showing it to me yesterday. It's just amazing. So him and his family, I know this show right here is going to give you a lot of nuggets, a lot of information for you entrepreneurs to take advantage of this. So Doc, how are you?
Man, I'm great, Ivan. Again, thanks for having me here, bro. I appreciate it so much. I'm just happy to be here. San Diego is beautiful, man.
Beautiful weather.
Beautiful weather, but I'm in love with the food. I'm in love with the food. When you took me yesterday and had chilaquiles.
You was chilaquiles.
With the green sauce, the verde sauce.
The verde sauce, the green sauce, yeah.
Oh, my God, it was amazing. What is the coffee called again?
Café de la olla.
Café?
It's like a pot coffee. It's called pot coffee, and it has a little bit of cinnamon and syrup in there.
I had like 5 cups yesterday.
5 cups.
It was that good. I've never had any coffee like that before in my life.
Yeah, I mean,
it's the best coffee in the whole world.
I can tell you, Doc loves Mexican food. So every time we sit, every time he comes to Mexico or he comes to with my team in Tijuana or San Diego, we make sure that he has that Mexican food.
What is that great restaurant you took me to in Tijuana? Do you remember? It was where they had the...
I think that one was the one, or my team took it?
Your team took it.
If it was my team took it, was La Espadaña. And La Espadaña, I love their breakfast.
Oh.
It's so good. Yeah, the coffee pot there, the café de la olla in there.
I swear, I tell God, I said, I swear I have a lot of Latino in me. I don't know where it comes from, bro. But I love the food, man. I love the culture, but I love the people, just how loving and how family-oriented everybody is. So I'm happy to be here. Happy and grateful to be here. And talk about what we're doing. So
awesome. So the show is called Mental Interruption. So it's about basically giving wisdom, experiences, knowledge to the people so it can cause a paradigm shift, a mental interruption. That's what I call it. Well, it interrupts their mind and maybe ask themselves the question, am I doing it right, or can I do it better, or etc. So this is what's going on. I mean, you, for example, are very successful today, but the matter of the fact, the real story is you went through some stuff.
Yeah, I went through some very challenging times. I mean, people look at me now and say, "Oh, Spillers."
People would say you went through some deep shit.
Very deep shit. I mean, as far as where I come from, Houston, Texas. I'm from as far as the worst part of Houston you can come from. It was gang violence. It was guns shooting every day. I mean, if you wasn't a part of a gang, you getting beat up by one.
So you were in a part of a gang?
Yeah, I was. During that particular time, yeah. I mean, that was...
How old were you?
13.
13? Wow.
Father died at 12.
Oh, wow.
So at 13, I started running the street, and getting in trouble. And my mom tried to, raise me the best she could, but, I mean, the streets were more popular than my upbringing. So I ended up being more close to the streets than anything else.
It reminds me of the movie of Notorious B.I.G.
Yeah, same. He was. Yeah, I don't think I was.
But he was in New York though.
He was in New York, and I was in Texas.
There's a little difference.
A little difference. Yes, a little difference, but. That's all.
But the gang life, that's what I'm talking about.
That's all I knew. And then there could be people listening to me now, and I can also tell you. I mean, a lot of my friends are dead. I mean, a lot of them, and if they're not dead, they're in prison. You know, and so I don't even have a lot of people that I grew up with that are still alive anymore. I mean, that's how I came up. That's how hard it was. So, I mean, it was just, it was kill to be killed. You know, kind of where I was coming up, and that was just the norm. You know, of where I came from. And I met my wife, and she pulled me out that culture.
When was that? How old were you when you met your wife?
I was 22.
So from 13 to 22, you were in that gang,
yeah,
right?
I was running the streets and things like that. Yeah,
so that involves a lot of drugs and stuff.
Selling drugs. I sold a lot of drugs.
You did probably drugs.
Yeah,
I mean, this is important because sometimes when they see somebody very successful, and then like me personally, when I met you, right, Dr. Spiller, people
didn't know that about my
people
past.
Don't understand, and they see the success, but they don't understand what you went through to get to the level that you are.
I lived in what they call a crack house.
Wow.
So I was in a crack house for a number of years, and I grew up in that, and I mean, like, I didn't have no water, no heat, no food, no nothing, and so I had to.
No water, no heat, no nothing.
Nothing, man. All I had was I was living in a house with nothing. It was just, I mean, the doors, nothing was on it, and that's how I was living in that. And so I had to come out of that. So I was living in a house at.
How long you lived there for?
About 2.5 years.
What?
Mm-hmm. True story. 2.5 years. Lived right there, and then it was from there I started, really selling drugs.
That was still 18, 19?
I was about 18 then. Yeah, 18. And then it just kind of grew from there. And I ended up getting robbed. It was, and long story short, I ended up, after I got robbed, and that was a part of the thing, I was so embarrassed and I was so afraid after the incident. I was even afraid to tell my friends, because I knew that they would retaliate. You know what I'm saying? If they saw what happened to me, I knew they were going to go back and do something. So it was just, I had to make a decision. And my wife during that part, she didn't know what my lifestyle was either. So it was like, hey, I'm going to pull you out of this. Well, this is a true story. One day, one of my friends was called me on my phone. I run outside the house with a machine gun because I think he's getting robbed. Now, this is a true story. Now, I run outside with this machine gun to think I'm going to save him, but it was actually the FBI, and they were raiding his house. And I thought it was another group that was coming to attack him. I run outside, and it's FBI agents all around his house, right?
Oh, my God.
This is a true story. And I paused. If they would have turned around, they would have saw me. When I saw them, I backed up into the house. I mean, at first, I was paused, like it's frozen. And you seeing them, you run outside, I have no shirt on, I have some warm-up on, and I'm barefoot. All I know is somebody's finna rob my friend. I'm finna come out and save him. But it's the FBI, and it's like 10 of them. But they were all surrounding this house, and none of them turned their back to see me. So I back up in my house, close the door, and that was like a turning point for me right then. And,
wow.
And that was like, all they had to do was turn around, Ivan. If they'd have turned around, I wouldn't be here. And
of course.
Yeah, because they would have shot me, because I ran outside to shoot. So when that didn't happen, that's when my wife, I was dating her then, and she's like, I'm done. And she said, if you want me, you got to move. And so she moved me away. And that's how I end up leaving the neighborhood. Teresa, who's my wife now, took me away from it.
That's crazy. Your friend went to jail and you basically...
Mm-hmm. He went to jail.
And you basically turned point after that.
Oh, that was it.
So that could have been, so there's probably a reason, a big reason why that happened to you. This is why we're here today.
Yes, true. Well, the only reason I didn't want to leave the street was because, I told you this, I couldn't read. I didn't know how to read. So
But you finished high school.
Yeah, and that's even crazy, because I was just a good athlete. You know what I'm saying? So
you were telling me you play basketball
and football.
Yeah, we were talking a lot of sports earlier.
Yeah, it's true. I remember I got caught by the
I know
police.
who his GOAT is.
Yes.
I know who his GOAT is.
LeBron?
No, I know who his GOAT is.
I'm messing with him. I'm messing with him.
I know.
I'm messing with him. LeBron. 23? I think he wears 23 or 6 or something like that. Is he wearing 6 for 6 rings? I don't know. No, I'm serious. But no, I mean, no, but living that life. And one of the reasons why I did what I did was growing up, man, I don't want to put it on color, but I want to put it on color.
Okay.
Being a young black man growing up, I didn't have, my father died when I was 12. So I had no role models. I mean, all my role models was the street. Mm-hmm. And so that's all I knew. So when people met Dr. Spiller, that's because Teresa had cleaned me up. So before, I wasn't clean. And so when Teresa, who was already degreed, a professional, had a corporate job and everything, she's like, if you're going to stay with me,
wow,
you're going to
That's a lot of love right there from Teresa.
Yeah, she did. Yeah, she did. I mean, but look how attractive I am. That's why she did it.
Yeah, he got to throw that out there.
But no, I mean, and that was my journey. And from there, get my degree. I did get a degree. I learned how to read. That was the first thing. And then after learning how to read, I went back to school.
Okay.
And got my bachelor's. I got my master's, and then got a doctorate in theology.
Wow. And
so that's where the whole Dr. Spiller came from. Most people don't know that about my past, that's how I came up, or that's how I was raised, or those are the things that I did. And when they see me, they're like, oh, he's a man of God, or I was like, no, y'all you don't know.
You don't understand the process I went through.
No, it was a process. And that's why you said, you talk about mental interruption. My mental interruption came from someone that loved me. And I think that's the only way a person can change. I think change comes out of love. And because I had someone that loved me. So
change comes through love.
Yeah, change only comes through love. At least from my humble opinion.
It's a great nugget right there. Change comes through love.
And that's the only way I changed. Somebody had to love me enough to change me. And most people don't love people enough to change them. That's why
some people don't really have somebody that loves them.
There you go. There you go. That loneliness messes with me even now. You know, I'm always. I mean,
you're so blessed because a lot of people don't have that person to love them, and they have to be the first person to love themselves.
I didn't have that. I mean, and that is what you said. I'm thinking about that, man. That's real. I didn't love myself. I didn't know how to love myself. You know what I mean? So it took somebody to love me for me to even know what love was. And so all I knew was hate, and I grew up around was hate. I mean, you grew up slanging and shooting. And robbing, I mean, there's no love in that. There's only like the mentality of get, take. And then here comes someone and they said,
give to you.
And I wasn't ready for that. I wasn't even used to that. Nobody gave me shit. Anything I got, I took. So, I mean, here's this girl giving me love. I'm like, and I pushed her away. I remember breaking up with her too. I didn't know what love was, man. I didn't know what that was. So I broke up with her. And I was like, but I broke up with her because I didn't feel I was good enough for her. If that makes sense. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I was so bad.
If you were bad, you're like, nah, this is not what you need. Like,
you don't want me. I'm evil. Look, I was saying to her, I'm evil. You don't want me. I don't think I'm good enough for you because I know the things I've done in my past. I don't think I'm ready
to change also.
That's it. That was a bigger one. I damn sure wasn't ready to change. I was making too much money. So I didn't want to change.
You were even telling me about this bank story that you were when you were trying to become.
Oh my God. My first job.
Your first job. You're like.
I had my first job at 24. 24? 23 or 24. I can't remember. It was at Chase Bank, man.
Chase
Bank. Look, I can't say I got to come there now. But my first job, and I didn't know. I never had a job before. So I go on this job, and the supervisor talked to me crazy. And it was a lady, and she raised her voice, and before I knew it, I cussed her out. I said, you don't know who you're talking to, woo, woo, and they escorted me off the premises, and that was my last day at work. But it was just like, I wasn't used to.
But you know what? It makes sense. I mean, you were telling me it makes sense because that person was probably making $30K a year, and you were used to making way more money on the streets.
No. She was making $32,000 a year. Do you know how fast I can make $32,000 on the street?
That's what I'm saying.
I'm looking at you like, girl, I'm taking this from you. I could go to the street and make a whole bunch of money.
Because the turnaround, it was just not enough. It was worth it for you to change. That's the honest truth.
My first check.
On your mindset of money, going back to it was. You need to have something else more than money to change. That's what happens. You need to have love to change.
I thought money was everything, until I found love. So I didn't think love. No, I'm a street dude. I don't believe in love. I mean, I didn't get it. People say I got love coming up, but I got love from the street. I got people in the street to love me. Man, I grew up in a good family. I don't take anything away from my family. I got a good mom, and she did the best she could, but the streets was just more attractive.
And it's also very tough when you're in the streets, I believe, because everybody can betray you at the one point. So sometimes even it's tougher to trust somebody later on.
Even now.
It had to be because of love that you start trusting. That's what I'm saying.
Teresa opened me up to love, and from there I start seeing, all right, love creates change.
There you go.
Right? But change creates something else. And what that change did for me was change gave me an identity, one I never had before. I didn't know what a man was.
So you identified the identity that you wanted in life. That's what happened. Before, because this is all relatable, because before you were talking mentors, because you didn't have a mentor, you didn't have an identity to follow.
There you go.
But now because you got love, it changed you to now try to understand what's the identity you really want.
Love made me look for an identity.
There you go.
I think that
so that's a big nugget right there for people. They need to find what's what they love, what's their passion, what they love, and that's gonna help you find the identity of the person you need to become.
I don't think you can create without love. I think love is the greatest creative force, and I think it was out of that love. I think whatever you love is what you're great at. When a person doesn't love it, they're not gonna give their all to it. And so I love the street, so I gave my all to it. I love my marriage, I would give my all to it. Then I start loving trading.
There you go.
And then once I loved it, I found my gift in it. I had a gift to teach. I never knew that until I found my identity. I'm not a trader more than I'm a teacher.
Oh, by the way, I forgot to say trader. Big time trader.
Yeah. But in trading, it's not even that. I learned from watching somebody like you, right? So you have this thing called Impact OneBillion. I've been watching it, right? And I'm watching how you're not limiting yourself to someone else's perception. Your identity is much bigger.
Yes.
But your identity, and this is where God just revealed something to me, your love for the people and your love for people is what's creating this identity of impacting 1 billion.
Yes.
And that's that identity.
Yes.
So the identity of impact 1 billion is coming out of the love that you have for people. And I think that was a difference.
And it's interesting because sometimes when you have a huge vision like that, you need to put your body through a lot of pain or the body through a lot of things. And just in other words, it's sometimes like you love more people than even yourself it can be, So you need to love their goals sometimes than your own goals. Even more.
I think that was a point I want to stick on. That was so good what you just said. Love their goals.
Yeah, you need to love their goals. You need to love their dreams even more than your own dreams. And that's how you're going to impact them. That's going to help them. Because in the reality, just to give you an example, one of my goals in 1 billion is to, for example, we were talking right now how much you're going to be your Thanksgiving ride and your Christmas ride. So at the end, maybe their goal of the people is to find food for Christmas.
Right. Right.
And your goal is your dream is just to help that goal. Because at the end, it's not really something personal for you, because it's actually for them. So that's the love part. That's how you find identity.
I lived in that crack house for those years, right? With no food, no water, right? And so I thought when I started doing better financially, I was just like, you're not doing enough. If that makes sense.
Yes.
I'm like,
you need to do more.
It's like, Ralph, you done good for you and your family. And that was an identity that I had. And then my love was just for my family. And so I pushed myself to provide for them. And then I had this epiphany or this interruption. And the interruption was like, that's not enough. You've done for your family. If I shifted and transitioned from this experience into another. If I died today, God forbid, and went out, my family will do extremely well. But then I heard something said that was selfish.
It was.
It's not enough.
I cannot say that to a lot of people, but it was.
It's not enough for you and your family.
Mm-hmm.
If you lived in a crack house and you had no food, how many other people's hungry and how many other bellies are starving? You got all this money. And so, like what you said, I found another identity. And that identity is I want to feed the streets like what you're doing. But it's like I didn't have me. I was just like, damn, if I had me, Ivan, when I was coming up, I wouldn't have did half the shit I did. And I said, shit, what I can do is I can go back and give myself to another kid who's just like me, who didn't have a dad at 13.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he can't read like me. But if I go back and I give, so like on Thanksgiving, it's like I said, I want to feed 100 people.
Okay.
I never did that before. I mean, this is
your first time you ever did. Yeah. It's amazing.
Yeah, I was just like.
I told you about the first time I gave gifts 6 years ago. It felt so good.
Oh, I'm listening to you like, people don't. The ability to give back, bro.
Uh-huh.
It was like, I'm shedding tears, right? Like, I'm a street dude. I can't believe I'm crying. This grandmother came up. She had 10 kids in her car.
Uh-huh.
And she had nothing.
Wow.
And I'm sitting up here with Gucci and Fendi and Prada. And I'm like, boy, my Prada's in the wrong place. I could do more by giving back. And so that's why this platform of what you're doing, and me looking at you, me watching Monica, and I'm like, okay, he's impacting 1 billion people, right? Rather than trying to compete, why don't I complete?
I'm talking about.
Right? And it's like if the objective is feeding people, then I feel that what happens is God has a way of bringing people together who have the same like passion, and that's what we're here today. So.
We collaborate, we help more people. It's kind of like it's very similar to what say one of the things that I follow my mentor Tony Robbins, right? That he wants to feed 1 billion people. So he said that, and last time I heard him, he was like, "I'm already almost at that goal." Total in his life. So I'm like, damn. I helped one of his charities in, I think it was Cambodia, right? That he talks about too much. And I gave some money in there.
Yeah.
And it feels so great at the end because for me, it's helping somebody else's vision. But at the end, it's also kind of my vision because it's 1 billion, So I feel collaboration, that's what a lot of people sometimes miss. They want the recognition. They want the part of I did it. And whenever you understand, it's not about you doing, it's about we at the end helping and creating a better life for people. That's what happened. So that's why I told you that the first time I gave gifts, it was a car. I took it to Tijuana, Mexico. I think it was like 20 gifts in a low class barrio over there, Colonia, and I've opened the trunk and just in my mind I was like, what am I going to do here? I tried knock on people's doors, little houses, very, very small houses, very, very humble houses or poor communities. Kids came running to the car, take the gifts out of my hand. I'm like, oh, so this is very easy. So I just gave them away. People already knew I was there to give away gifts. So last year, I think we gave 3,000 meal things for families, and it was like 10,000 people total. Or not last year, 2 years ago. And I was like, okay, this is it. This is what we're going to be doing. So one of the parts, for example, that we're doing in 1 billion, it is that. We have a nonprofit that we have people in Chile, in the U.S., in Mexico, etc. And everybody's collaborating, giving money on this nonprofit that we give it away to these organizations. And that's how we're going to be focusing also on helping 1 billion people. I'm 38, I'm John. I know I'm eventually going to get to that goal.
You said something while we were driving here today. Tony Robbins' mentor was
Jim Rohn,
and then how Tony impacted you.
Yeah,
and now you're impacting me. The things that's happening now, I guess now when you talked about Mind Interrupt was, I had to see something bigger than myself. I think that's what pushes me to give back, is that as long as I was looking at me, I never knew how selfish I was. And so
I love it. That's perfect what you're saying right there. I remember Bob Proctor said something, he talks about the success definition. You know this. the progressive realization of an ideal of worthy ideal, sorry. But when he's talking about that, he talks about in order to be ideal is because you're able to sacrifice your life for it. That's how big or deep it can get. So that's 1 billion for me. You know, for me, I feel it like I'm sacrificing. You know, I'm sacrificing my life for it.
Wow.
The same way Andrew Carnegie sacrificed his life to give at the end, the second part of his life, all his wealth, giving it back. Or the same way whoever very successful has very similar stories, you know, they give back. So that's the way I personally feel about 1 billion, you know, and the example you did with your grandma is totally right. You know, like you're all dressed up very nice, but then you got your grandma or parents or whatever not doing that great. You know, it's about them, but it's not only about them, it's about also them plus how many people can you really impact that need the education or they have a grandma with their kids and they maybe need that help. I still believe the number one thing that we're given and you're given is education. And because we want them to have the same level of success. Because your story, man, you went from not reading to a very successful trader. I mean, come on.
Now, I mean, people look at me and they're like, if I tell them like, no, I didn't know how to read till I was in my 20s, they look at me like, what?
Really? Yeah, they don't believe it.
Yeah, they're looking at me, I don't know. All you go do is ask. Or now go look at my, what do they call it? A transcript from school. If you look at my transcript from school, you'll see the classes that I was in. I was in like the very slow remedial classes when I went to school. So they all thought that I had a learning disability. And here I am now, not just, this is how somebody can put a label on you, but you have to decide to live under that label. And they put a label on me that I had learning disabilities and I had learning challenges. But I had to decide, here it is. For 22 years, I lived under that label that I had a problem learning. I had to decide at 22 if I would still keep that label. If I would let them still tell me that I have a learning disability or I couldn't read or I couldn't do any of these things. And so for me,
you stopped believing that story.
I stopped believing that story and wrote my own. So his story is just that. It's his story. And I'm not going to let somebody else give me their story about me. I'm going to write my own story about myself. And so I started saying, no, I'm going to learn how to read. And I pushed myself to learn how to read. And then I remember reading little books, man, like with the little words in them. And reading these books. And then my wife was like right there with me, making sure. And so then from there, once I learned, I couldn't stop. And I just read everything. and that's what drove me to trading. Because here's a street guy that couldn't read, and now he creates a platform that's trading, and people look at me like, and you did that. I was like, man, it's miraculous what I think God has done with someone like myself. And I think I would end by saying, it all goes back to what you believe about yourself. I mean, I watch people like you who are industry leaders in this profession of just networking, period. And one of the things I watch from all of you, it's the same thing all of you believe. And it's that thing that doesn't stop y'all from going to the next level. I watch your belief level and I was like, it's huge, it's humongous, but that belief level is what allows people like me to feed off of y'all and allow me to keep pushing forward in my stuff too. So
it's beautiful. Yeah. And that's totally true, 100% true. When I hear your story and I see your story, I see a lot of stories being put in your head from people, but at the end, you're basically creating your own story, even in trading right now, because I was through the process when I saw you go into a really nice residual check, you know, a really nice cash flow, and it's amazing. But even through that success that a lot of people would have probably just focused on that, you said, let me learn trading. Let me learn this thing that I haven't really learned. And even when you were started learning, you still probably had a lot of people saying, what the hell are you doing, Spiller? And even when you started having success in trading, and even when you started saying, I'm going to create my own product or my own system or etc., you still probably had more people saying you're crazy. And you probably had battles mind battles with yourself, asking yourself, am I doing it right or am I doing correct?
True.
But once you make that decision of saying, I'm going to make this correct, I'm going to make this right. That's why you have a platform right now with 4,000 people, and it's probably going to about to take it to the next level.
I receive. I said this.
I'm not saying probably. It will go to the next level.
It's going to go together with us together. I say this. When we launched the product in June, I know what the creator spoke to me in my spirit, and I know what he said this would be. And I think for me, the doubt, I had to conquer my doubt. I mean, you don't know what doubt is until you start doing something that you don't really believe you can do. And I was amazed at how many words were still stuck in my head about what I couldn't do while I was doing it. And I would hear the words of doubters and hear the words of haters telling me, you can't do this or you can't do that. And boy, fighting through those dark moments was, I think, the hardest thing for me, because I don't know how anybody says, success is lonely. When you're in it. It
is lonely when you're in the process,
yes,
right?
Yes, when you're in that process.
Yep.
It's like you want to go to someone and ask them,
But you're going to a level you've never gone before with people that haven't been in that level before sometimes, you know?
Right. And I could go to Ivan and I can say, hey, Ivan, tell me this, tell me that. And Ivan could give me advice, but Ivan can't
do it for
advise me through the process.
Yeah, cannot do it for you.
So that process of fighting those evil thoughts, those thoughts of I couldn't do this, that process was very hard.
Hell yeah.
And the only reason, I think the only way I defeated it is being around people like you.
Huh?
All right, you did a training in Miami? Where in Miami?
It was in Miami, that one, yeah.
All right. One of the best trainings I've ever been a part of from this perspective. It was a training to challenge us financially in places we hadn't been challenged.
Yes,
and so the thing was, all right, here's something. And I had to say to myself, okay, are you independent? And at that point, we were debt free, but we're not independent. We had no bills, but we're independent. And you in that meeting made me go back and look at some things, and I stopped. I had 8 cars, 8 at one point.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I don't have that many anymore. I think I'm down to 5.
That's still good.
I'm still down to 5, but I had 8 at one point, and I was just buying. I never had this much money for them legally. Not legally.
It is true.
Yeah, but this is legal money. I ain't to worry about no police, no nothing. So this is my first time having this much money, and I didn't have a mentor to tell me what to do with it. And that was the part that's dark too, because I'm spending money because that's all I know how to do. I didn't have an Ivan come and tell me, Spiller, put your money here, put your money there.
You know, that's the original reason why I started 1 billion.
Tell me. I want to hear it.
Yeah, I mean, one of my former mentors, when I made my first million, I didn't know what to make with that first million, right? Because when you don't know how to make money, the first thing is make money. After you make money, then the other thing is like, okay, how can I still get the money to multiply now? Because I don't know how to do it, because I've never have invested in my life. So I asked my former mentor, hey man, you're already a millionaire. So you got different properties or different investments, different opportunities. Why don't you let me come in one of those? I don't care if it's, I even say this, I don't care if even 1% stockholder or whatever, what you're in, but you're already the expert. I'm not. And his response was a couple of ones, actually. He said, well, number one, why don't you go look for a financial guy that can talk to you about it? And I'm like, well, that's you. That's why I'm asking you, mentor. Right? You're my guy. So that's number one. And then the number two, he said, I don't do business with people that are in my organization. And that killed me, because I was like, well, I'm asking here for help, and you're basically saying, no, go somewhere else. That was my first million. I didn't know what to do now. Wow. Now I'm scared, because I don't know if I'm going to do the right decision.
Right.
Well, long story short, man, this is amazing. You're going to love this part of the story. Actually, we're seeing in a podcast studio of one of my companies, as you know, right? And basically, the CEO of this company was the CEO of this other company, but let me show you how I met him. So I invested in this wings company. We went from like 3 restaurants to like 7 restaurants. Okay. And we were going through some very financial problems. And I basically handpicked with another guy, this guy that's now the CEO of this company, right? But it's not his fault. It was my other partner's fault. But that company went from 7 restaurants to 0 restaurants, and I went into court with that. So I lost my first million. I basically lost it all. And I remember sitting in the CEO of that company, right, which is also CEO of this company, sitting with him. He was almost crying, telling me the news. He was like, bro, I'm so sorry. We have to close. This is going on. And remember, he told me in a wings restaurant, also in another wings restaurant. We were there, and he was like, are you gonna say something? And I'm like, you know what, man? I just know something. For me to order to make 100 million, I need to learn how to lose 1 million. I remember I said that. And he was looking at me like, okay, he has lost like 1 million. Right? And I was like, yeah. I was like, kind of feeling like good. And you know why? Because I heard Jim Rohn lost money in order to make more money. Yeah. And he got also in court because of him putting his name. That's what happened to me. I put my name under the properties. So when the company went down, they sued me because we had the properties leased for basically 3 years. That's what happened. So when I lost that, the only thing that it told me is like, Ivan or Ivan, bro, this is never going to happen ever to your organization. If they come to you and ask you for financial advice, you're not going to be like your former mentor saying, oh, I don't do business with my people. No, I'm going to not only teach them finance that that's not going to happen to me ever again. And I learn, of course, the finances as you know. Yeah. But now I'm also going to provide them vehicles where they can invest their money if they want to, so they can create a different cash flow than what they have.
I think the issue...
That's the original part of OneBillion, the financial part, and the rest of it.
When you said that, I think the bigger issue was we didn't know. And now that we have mentors like you, the ability to pick up the phone and say, hey, Ivan, I'm doing this, that, and the third. What do you think? And I think that's the missing component for me. That's why I got into gangs. Every bad decision is a decision made without a mentor.
That's what it is.
Every bad decision.
Whoever you follow their advice, you're going to follow their results. Bottom line.
The voice you trust is critical to your success.
Totally.
And so I started saying, oh, I'm listening to the wrong people. I could look at my bank account and knew I was listening to the wrong people. I mean, you can make $50,000 a month and still be broke. And it's just like, how can you make $50,000 and still be broke?
I was making $5,000, I was broke. How can I make $50,000?
So it's like you're looking at it and you're like, what are you doing? And then finally it clicks like, okay, mental interruption. Stop now. If you're listening to me and you're going in the wrong direction, stop now. And if I would have listened to that in 2017, Ivan, I'd probably be multiple 8 figures by now, maybe multiple 9 figures. But my ego, and that's what, when people say, Spiller, what changed? Ego. I didn't realize that I was full of it, and there's a word called icon, ICON, right? And if that word is so true, because when you become an icon, the only person you're conning is yourself.
Yes.
And I said, I am the problem. And so if I take I out of the icon, there's no more con. So just me from seeing where I went wrong, and I could be talking to people out there, if I would have just asked for help, one of the things that I did not know how to do was come and say help.
That's a big thing right there.
Yeah.
You need to learn how to keep that ego down. You know what has helped me a lot during this time? Me personally, learning about what I told you yesterday, Henry Ford, he was not the smartest guy in this company in the sense of individual departments.
Right.
But he was the leader of leaders, right? He was the leader of those guys that he was leading. He didn't know anything about really. Steve Jobs, he was the visionary, but he was the leader of the people building it. Tony Robbins, he says the same thing, right? He is so great at what he does, interventions, personal development, but he is not the guy doing the trading. He is not the guy that does the investigation and research on the real estate that he has. He's not that guy. That's a fact. He gets the best people to do it. So whenever he does the trading, for example, that's $1 billion. I'm not the biggest guy. I'm not the bigger, smarter, more intelligent, powerful guy. No, I'm not. I got the best people that I believe, right? And they're working with me, and I'm going to be investing with them. I'm going to be learning from them. And that's what helps me bring my ego down a lot. A lot of people come with me. It's like, hey, man, I know you can teach me financially. And instead of me feeling, because I'm the best, it's because, I'm good.
Right.
I'm freaking good. I know I'm freaking good compared to a lot of people, right? But I still am learning from somebody. And then personal development. Some people come to me, hey, man, you're my GOAT. I'm like, that's great. That's amazing. I appreciate it. And I know I'm good, but I'm still learning from more people, you know? Hey, man, I've seen you lose freaking from 280 to 240 pounds, you know? Like, what are you doing? Yeah, I can tell you what I did, but I can tell you who I've learned it from and why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Oh, that's good, Ivan.
So that's the reason, though. It helps me bring my ego so much down because I know I'm good, you know?
Right.
And I know I'm the best of me today compared to the best of me from yesterday, but that doesn't mean I'm the best.
That's good. That's real good.
So that's why I always keep my heart humble, take it easy, you know, because there's so many people. And then maybe you're on top today. That doesn't mean you're going to be on top tomorrow. So be okay. And
I've been there. We were on top. I got sick. We came through the little sickness I had, and I met Randy and Melinda Martinez. And I can tell you, when you're going through something, you got to have people around you that are strong support systems so that when times get tough, they keep reminding you what you are, and they keep reminding you who you are while you're going through the process. I think having people like them, and I think everybody that's listening to me, if you find yourself going through the process and you're alone, that's wrong.
yes,
You got to go through the process with people.
it's the best.
And why, and this was me, every time I went through the process, I wanted to be isolated. Every time I went through the process, I wanted to be by myself.
It's hard.
It's just like, oh, nobody's, and that's the thing. The process is supposed to be endured with people. You don't go through the process alone. You got to have people behind you saying, okay, yes, hard, but we believe in you. Yes, heart, we got you. Yes, heart, we know your capabilities and potential. For me, the crowd or not the crowd, the people in my corner, I remember this, and I think you're going to like this. All right. A thermometer measures the heat, right? A thermostat controls the temperature, where a thermometer just measures it. And so now think about, I said, well, that sounds like people. That most people are just thermometers, all right? They only measure what's going on in the room. They're going to say what everybody else say. Whatever the temperature's in the room, they're going to say it. If it's hot in the room, they're going to be hot. If it's cold in the room, they're going to be cold. And then I realized what was wrong. I had so many
Thermometers.
people in my life when I really needed thermostats.
You need thermostats.
Somebody that
It's not simple getting thermostats also, man.
Well, this is why I met Ivan Tapia, who, and I'll say this on live. I was going through a difficult time, and I called you. And during that time, I had thermometers. And when I called you, you were a thermostat. And you said, Spiller, the only thing you can focus on is basically this is what you said, what you can control. Look at what you can control. And that's what I mean by people in your corner while you're going through the process. You got to be able to pick up the phone and call somebody.
Yeah, but you were pissed at me at that day.
Hell yeah, I was mad.
You were pissed.
I held it.
Why were you pissed?
I was pissed. I would love to go into that. But I was pissed because I was feeling, and this is a true statement, I was feeling unappreciated. I mean, I think for me,
but it wasn't a 5-minute call. It was like an hour call.
For me, that ego, I tell you, that's what it is. When a person doesn't feel appreciated, he moves into ego. So me and Ivan on the phone, I'm hot. And he could tell. It's like, but it was because I had already let people get in my spirit.
Yes.
So before I talked to you, I was already contaminated with what people had put in my spirit. The conversation, even when I got on the phone, I was still contaminated. That's just me being honest, because I had to go through the process of purging.
I was basically saying you're not working at the level that I know you can work.
I wasn't hearing that at that point.
But you were like, but I'm working. What the hell are you talking about?
Yeah, I said I'm working. No. I said I'm working. I said more than that. But it was true. I was like, Ivan, hold on. I said, you listen to the Kool-Aid. I say, some people out there are saying stuff and you listen to the Kool-Aid. That was my opinion. But that opinion again,
that was the story you created.
Me being transparent. I'm thinking one thing and you ain't even on the same page I'm on. You're like, Doc, what are you talking about? I said, well, this is what my thinking was. And this is why I love having these real conversations with men like yourself. I'm glad we're having a real conversation. But my thinking was, everybody's against me. Mm-hmm. But that comes from selling drugs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because that's the betrayal part that I was talking earlier. Because that was your culture, your environment. You believe that if somebody maybe is not agreeing with you 100%, that it's because they don't trust you 100%. That's not true. So it's so important. This is just so much material, even with kids, how you raise them, because that's your environment. That was your environment. And because you didn't have that mentor at a young age, you didn't have that voice, you needed to have that love that helped you go change. I feel so powerful.
Walking around so angry, like on the phone with you, it's not you more than it is. And I think people miss this. People never ask you, how were you raised? They just see how you are.
They see how you are.
And so it's easy to judge me when you see how I am.
They see the end result.
Nobody go back and say, hey man, were you shot? Yes. Were you stabbed? Yes.
Here's just a great question for people that love you and want. But here's the thing: that want the results that you have.
Yeah.
Here's a great question. Hey, dog, I want the same results as you have. You should ask them, do you want the same process that I had?
And they don't. That's a hard process.
That's gonna change.
All right, hold on. I'm finna ask that from now on. Doc, I want to be like you. Do you want my process?
Yeah.
Because it's like, okay, this is what I want you to do. I want you to go and be raised where I was raised. Yes. Go through that whole thing. Go without a father at age. My dad was diagnosed with cancer when I was 10. So I watched a man my size go down to be nothing.
Wow.
And so you're watching your hero just die in front of you and you can't do anything. And so that sense of helplessness creates a mental paradigm.
Yes, it does.
And watching your father die, I mean, he didn't die at the hospital, he died at the house. He didn't want to die at the hospital. So we had to watch him deteriorate at home and watch him take his last breath at home too. So I'm 11 watching this experience, can't fully process it.
Wow.
And my mom has a nervous breakdown.
Of course.
And so I was basically raising myself at 12. So 12, this is a true story. A pimp lived 2 houses down from me. So my dad died. The pimp became my mentor.
Jeez.
So when people look at me, I'm like, bro, you probably should ask, hey, Spiller, where you come from?
Yeah.
But nobody would sit down and say, but if you look at me, you're like, man, he's angry. If you saw where I came from, man, most people don't know where I came from.
Because people just see what you think, but they don't understand why you think what you think.
Yeah.
That's the key right there.
Why is Spiller like that? It's like, bro, grew up with people shooting guns. No. It's not like they were shooting guns every other day.
Probably every day.
No, not every day, not just every day, but it was throughout the day. So we could be at a park playing basketball.
Oh, wow.
And these guys would jump out of the truck. This actually happened while we were playing basketball. And shot up the whole park. They ain't just shoot up some of the park. They shot up the whole park. Yeah. So now, this was not like, where's the police? No, this is an ongoing experience. So then I come out of that culture into this culture, but here was my thing, and I'm very honest about this. I'm very loyal, and that's a part of that culture too.
That's the positive part.
That's the positive part of my culture, and that's what a lot of people don't understand. Gang culture is more loyal. I mean,
It is.
I don't know if people understand that.
It is. They see you with a certain tattoo, for example. They're like, oh, he's with me, probably, right?
And so
and for you to change that, like, there's no way.
Or no. This was the problem. So in gang culture, you say what you mean what you say. You can't. You don't say one thing and do another.
Backtrack it.
You get killed for that. So you don't say one thing, you do another. So that's where I was from. So then, like,
that's strong, because you know what my phrase I said is, if it comes out of my mouth, I mean, your words need to be stronger than your own signature.
Right. And so
that's what it is right there.
And so then when you come from that culture, and then you come into this culture, right, and someone says, I'm your boy, I'm with you. Well, that means something to a person who came up like me. That's not like what someone else says.
Yeah, I understand that completely.
So then it's like, so if you tell me that, like, we tight, then I believe that. But then now, here's another thing. I'm 48. I'm much older. So then, because I'm much older, I'm starting to notice that a lot of people don't come from the same age I come from, where that loyalty level is there. If we say we family, we family.
It's different yeah.
Now people say we family until we fall out. And it's like, well, that's not family.
That's not
We're family forever.
That's different right there.
And so that's how I was raised. Like, and when a guy comes and says, you my boy, or you my girl, you my friend, or you family.
Yeah, for you.
Bro, that's like, you don't do that. That's like, that means a little bit deeper than probably what someone else would say.
Yeah.
And so the culture is, if people sat down and talked to an inner city kid like myself, who grew up from that, they'll probably have a different perception on, oh, that's why it's like that.
So let's go through this, a quick step-by-step to a person, because this is very important so we can kind of wrap up the whole whole podcast, you know, because I know exactly what you're saying. I come from Tijuana.
So you know too.
I grew through the 90s. That's when all the narco was going very hard in Tijuana. So the gunshots and all that. You know, I got friends that passed away, unfortunately, because of kidnappings and stuff.
So you know.
Oh yeah. We know.
So I didn't know that.
Yeah, we know.
I didn't know how far. So that's amazing. But you were going to say about steps.
So the step by step of how a person, maybe like you, where you came from, where I came from, what is a good step? We were talking about love, right? Mm-hmm. But we were talking about mental interruption. It was a turning point in your life. Mm-hmm. So people should expect for a turning point, because I've always learned, basically it's going to, through an impactful event in your life. That was an impactful event to the FBI. Sure. Or is it through repetitive information? So you need to be listening to mentors every day. Mm-hmm. Like, what is that step by step?
I would say this. To change, I'll give them a step by step from what I did. I think the first thing is, my first step was discovering God within me.
Discovering God within you.
I think not religion, but for me it was discovering that part of me that made me special. I think everybody in here, the first step is recognizing that you're special, and I think that's what most people don't do. They think they're just like everybody else. But
what makes you special?
What makes me special? And I think when I start going down that journey to find out, number one, you are special. Not that I could find a gift. I don't need a gift to make me special. Life makes me special. And so just to embrace that was step one. And then step two, after recognizing that I am special, and it was then, most people don't take inventory of their life. So knowing you're special is not enough. So I know I'm special, but then I need to take inventory. Number two, am I getting my desired results? And I wasn't. I wasn't getting my desired results in my family. I wasn't getting my desired results from my wife. I wasn't getting my desired results from my businesses. I wasn't getting my desired results with my money. Am I getting desired results? And when I gave that honest answer, no, step three, I had to find a mentor. So love myself, number one. Number two, I had to be honest with myself about where I am. I am not getting the results I want. Mm-hmm. Now, how am I going to get these results? I got to find a mental tutor, someone that can change my mind. And I think that step three was my hardest part, because I had to let that mentor me. That's number 4. Number 4 is, will you let the mentor you? It's one thing to say, I want to mentor, but can he really mentor you? Can he tell you this is wrong and you make an adjustment? Can you tell you that this is what you need to do, and then there's no going back and forth? So number 4 was, number 3, get the mentor. But number 4, am I going to listen to him? Or am I just following the rest of everybody else saying, I got a mentor? No. If Ivan is my mentor, to what degree? Because the place that I don't let you mentor me is the place I choose to remain poor. And that was it. So then if it was a step 4, I would tell everybody, listen to me. If you have a mentor, the place where your mentor can't challenge you is also the place where you're going to stay broke.
Exactly. You
So
just
then,
keep challenging.
and then number 5, I think I will close off with this. I would say number 1 was recognize you're special. Number 2, are you getting what you want out of life? No, I'm not. Well, number 3, find a mentor. Number 4, if it ain't find a mentor. Number 4, have to find a mentor. Do what the mentor tells you to do. And then number 5, love what you do. If you don't love it, you're not gonna get y'all to it. If people ask me what my steps were, that once I found my mentor, and the mentor told me, hey Doc, you ain't giving it your all. What's your all? And I was like, okay, then I had to decide whether I'm gonna listen to you or not. But then after I decide whether I'm listening or not, I'm gonna give my all. Am I gonna give, the difference between a rich man and a poor man is one word, effort. Everybody trying to make it deep. Man, no. You're not willing to give the effort that this man's willing to give. And if I look at Ivan Tapia, how much effort has Ivan given since he brought David in 2016? What was your effort? And when people look at it, that's the difference between a rich person and a poor person. That poor person is not going to give the same amount of effort. Oprah has 24 hours a day. She ain't better than me. And this is my arrogance coming out. Michael Jordan ain't better than me. He had 24 hours a day. Kobe ain't better than me. LeBron ain't better than me. Donald Trump, there's no one better than me. I just choose to be average. And when I choose to be average, I don't give the same effort. And when I start giving the effort, and people says, how much time did you give? I am not playing. 10,000 hours. And people act like that's not real. I gave 10,000 hours to my craft. And because I gave 10,000 hours to my craft, here's colors.
That's what it is. That's what it is. It's 10,000 hours to become professional in done. Yep.
10,000. I can't. Effort. That was number 5. Effort. People, I want to be Dr. Spiller. No, man, you don't have that effort. You sleep too much.
But here's the beautiful part about that. You already put some big effort, 10,000 hours for the people. So the only thing they need to do in their effort, using colors, for example, is they need to just use the product. And That's it. You already put the effort for that.
Well, I made it easy to where a green means buy, red means sell.
That's what mentors where we are. We make it easier for people. Because we know the path, but then we give the path.
Yeah. Well, those are my 5 things that I would say, Ivan. I hope those 5 made sense. But I mean, those are the things that I did to change my life.
So, Doc, I mean, we freaking appreciate you. This was our first English.
Oh, English.
Yeah, this was our first English one.
It's not gonna be the last one, huh?
And you're the first guest in Mental Interruption in English. So you got.
Come on. That's special, man.
That's very special, man.
Hold on. Ivan has been talking in Spanish this whole time, and then he has me on here today in English. I want to say thank you to you and your
thank
family.
you for coming also. Appreciate it.
Hey guys, me and Ivan finna do some big things.
Yes, sir.
I can't wait. I'm gonna help him impact $1 billion, so I'm gonna find out where I can get in there.
I'm freaking excited to have Doc help me impact $1 billion.
I can't help it. Thanks, bro.
All right, man.
Appreciate you.
I'll see you guys in the next one. Mental Interruption. We're out.